Ah, right. Welcome to the Production Booth podcast. I guess that's what I'm going to call it. I can't even get through an introduction without dropping a microphone. That is probably the perfect foreshadowing for how this might go. It might be an utter train wreck, but you know what? I'm probably going to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, I'm sorry, but you're not paying for it, so what do you want to do? Go and pay for your entertainment. It's going to be quite a good first podcast, I think. SHAF, the one and only, or Shaffer Cake, as he's referred to in my phone for a while. Wonderful man. He's a wonderful guinea pig, which is why he's perfect to kick this off with. But he and I have shared many conversations in our time living together, in our friendship of more than 4 years now. I think about it. Wow, that's gone by quick. I'm not going to waffle too much. An introduction for a podcast on SHAF shouldn't be about me. It should be about him. I've got a few things that I want to ask him, but at the same time, I know a lot about him already, so this is going to be for the listeners rather than me and him, ourselves. There's only one thing that I asked SHAF to do today. I asked him to bring on a certain beverage, just a drink, something that represents him, something that defines him as a person. If he brings water on, we're just going to cancel the whole thing, and I'm not going to release this. So, hopefully, if this is out there, he hasn't picked water. I believe he's going to pick Milo. Legendary hot drink that I'm sure, or cold drink, depending on what you want to do with it. He'll explain more about what that is if he picks it, and if he doesn't, I'm going to ask him why he didn't pick it. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. Right, podcast number 1. SHAF, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
I'm brilliant. Up until about 20 minutes ago, anyway, I finished recording an intro, and then the news broke. And I promised myself I wouldn't talk about the thing that's happened in 2020. But inevitably, 5 minutes before we start a podcast, we find out we're going into tier 3.
I know. Yeah.
So
It's ridiculous.
how's your Christmas gonna look, Shav?
I mean, well, hopefully I'll still get to be with family.
Yeah. Is your auntie and uncle still kneeling? Oh.
Yeah. They're still kneeling. Just hopefully trying to approach this as safely as possible. I mean, I haven't really left my house, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've pretty much never really gone out.
Apart from work.
Apart from work and stuff like that. And I did go out a little bit this week just to get some Christmas shopping, but aside from that, I haven't really gone out much. So just staying as safe as possible. But yeah, that's going to be my Christmas and how it's going to look like.
I think, well, I was planning on working, obviously.
Yeah.
All the way through. We were told we'd have 27th off and we'd probably have New Year's Day off. But obviously it doesn't mean anything now. So I'm probably just going to go home for Christmas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're going to relax the rules over the 5-day period that they've mentioned, whatever that's going to be.
What's the 5-day period that they mentioned? Is it just the week of Christmas?
I think it's like the 22nd, the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. But don't quote me on that because...
Yeah, of course. It's inevitable. God. We have no idea what's going to happen, to be honest. We just kind of have to ride the wave and just see how it goes.
Yeah, that's the way that I've been viewing things for a while. We don't know what's coming, so we just don't react until we know what is actually for sure.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that we find out rumours and through the media a few days before.
Yeah, and that's how it is, unfortunately. That's just how it rolls.
Oh, well. That's life. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for 2020, I might never have gotten the idea to start a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And you wouldn't have also... I mean, you probably would have put out your EP as well eventually.
I probably would have, yeah.
You probably would have.
Well, the thing is, I actually had that written before we went into lockdown.
That's true.
And you just needed the time to mix it.
Yeah.
Like, that's my problem with everything in music.
But also, you hoard stuff a lot. You have
exactly.
a lot of stuff.
I
in your
could not
computer.
even tell you. In the lockdown just gone, like, I think I wrote 6 or 7 songs. I'll release 2 of them as like a double-sided single, but I'm so bad at just holding on to things until I hate them.
Yeah.
I imagine this is what painting is like. You know, you paint.
God, yeah.
You got a blank canvas, and you add something to it, and then you don't stop adding things to it until you realize it's too much, and then you hate it. And you burn it.
Absolutely. And if you're not gonna get it out there, then it's not gonna go out unless you do something about it. And that's what I felt with my singles as well. To be honest, that's what happened with like
what I was about to ask. Yeah,
it's exactly what happened with like a retweet.
Have taken the time and gone, let's release some music, not just write it. Let's actually put it out there.
Yeah.
So there's like and retweet, and the newest one, I'm So Bored.
I'm So Bored, yeah.
Yeah, is there any more on the horizon? Or is there, in the recent horizon anyway? There's more coming?
There is more. There's more coming, all to be hopefully released. I think I'm going to use January to kind of take a break, just to work on the songs and make sure that the best they can be. But I've got a good 6 to 8 ready to go. So starting from February, I'll start releasing.
You'll probably have more time in January with lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Calling it now.
Yeah, and there's more to come. I've had thoughts of doing an EP or an album, but I mean the industry nowadays is all about immediacy, and everyone just wants singles after single, just popping out immediately.
Yeah, I kind of see that sometimes. It's there's a band that I actually follow called Dragged Under. Do you know Ryan Bruce?
No, I don't.
You'll know Jared Dines from YouTube.
Oh yeah, of course.
The infamous Jared Dines. He and a few other musicians, obviously. They had a band called Rest Repose. I think whatever happened with that, they seem to like change their Facebook page name to Dragged Under, and they've started something else. But they released like 5 singles, and then announced an album.
Fair enough.
Of the 9-track album, it had the 5 singles on it, and I think that was their plan all along: just release singles, generate hype, generate a consistent kind of. It's not really marketing; it's just content, isn't it? It's
it's just consistent content to keep their fan base engaged. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But I think that is definitely in the industry nowadays seems to be now.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
It seems like if you release something, it's forgotten within maybe 2 weeks, and you've got to kind of let that hype continue as long as you can. Don't let it fall off the chain, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it won't be forgotten unless it will be forgotten unless you're, someone massive, if you're one of the hottest artists right now.
Yeah. Even then, like, how long were people waiting for the new Tool album? Was it 13 years?
Gosh, yeah.
And I think the longer that it actually went on, the more that the hype kind of came back. Because people were like, well, it's got to come eventually, hasn't it? They have said it's going to come. Like,
absolutely.
What's the new video game that just came out? Cyberpunk 2077.
I've been playing it. I've been playing it. It's okay. Substance wise, the story, the characters, and the world is phenomenal. But gameplay wise, it's very buggy.
Yeah, I've heard that. To be fair,
I'm not having.
And that's been in development, and this was my point.
Yeah.
That's been in development for how long? I think it was announced in 2012.
2012, yeah. 2012. Before Witcher 3 was even finished. And they just kept delaying it. And I do wish they still delayed it. I'd rather them delay it for, I don't know, 2 years, another 2 years. Like, even if we got it in 2022, but
Yeah.
like as long as the game itself is good, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
But it does crash. I've
That
done.
seems to be a thing with the
Yeah.
gaming industry, doesn't it? Like, it's okay to release something that isn't finished. Can you
Yeah.
imagine if you released an album where there was just no snare? It's like, don't worry, we'll patch it. It's coming. The snare is coming.
We'll
just give it a
patch
bit
the
of
snare.
time. It's like Saint Anger. Like, don't worry, we're gonna fix it. Just wait a little bit longer.
Right, I know you're not happy about that 808 bass. We'll change it in a future patch. We'll change the 808 bass to like, I don't know, an acoustic bass.
From community feedback, we will build the correct album that we promised, and we will deliver it. Oh,
and then
that's not a bad way to
releases.
think about
It
things.
eventually releases, and you're like, oh god damn it, that snare again. The one singular snare in like track 8 in minute
You can't
2.
please everybody. You can't please everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people will just have to learn to live with the snare.
live with that snare.
There's no snare in my headphones.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Before I forget, there was one thing that I asked you to do
Yes, you
before you
did.
came on here today.
Yeah.
Just one thing that I asked you to bring. Something that
Yes,
represents you as a person. I asked you to bring a beverage.
Yes, you did.
Just so we can judge you, just so we can give you a small rating out of 5. We need to decide what kind of person SHAF is. Everything you've ever done in
great.
your life is leading up to this moment right now.
Okay.
What did you
all right.
bring that sums you up as a person? What beverage is it, SHAF?
Well, I brought a Heineken. Only because, I mean, you know me as a person. I've always been a Budweiser person, but that just happened to be the one that was in the fridge, because my stock on Bud is a bit low. So I just. kinda
I'm
looked
not
at it
going
and
to
just-
lie to you. I was not expecting that.
Really?
I actually, I thought you were going to bring a Milo.
I mean, I should have done a Milo, but I thought when you meant beverage, you usually just mean alcoholic beverage.
Well, I brought myself a cup of Yorkshire tea, so
Fair enough.
yeah.
Fair enough.
But it's not
Well,
my podcast, so no one cares about that. We want to know
enough,
why. We want to know why you have decided to abandon Milo.
Oh, I've never abandoned Milo. I had it this morning. It's still there. It's
What
it's still
actually?
there.
How do you explain Milo to anyone that's never seen or heard of it before? Because to this day, I don't really know what. It's not a hot chocolate, is it? Because
I mean,
you put ice in it.
there's different variations you can do, and I have different Milos depending on where I am. If I'm in that just sounds so pretentious. If I'm here in the
Milo a
UK, it's gonna be
day.
a Milo a day. If I'm here in the UK, then obviously I'm just gonna have a hot Milo, and it's basically cocoa powder. It's almost the same as hot chalky, or It's
Hot chocolate.
hot chalky. It's basically chalky milk. That's what it is. It's basically.
But there's
chocolate milk.
something about it that, for me, definitely resembles Malaysia.
Yeah, I guess
Maybe
I
that's
mean,
just because of that was where we had it. And that's what we experienced.
Yeah, I mean that was where you guys had it for the first time. But it's also just kind of cultural, you know. Back in school, you just roll up to the van, and just
van?
get the van. There
See-
will be a Milo van almost every day back in school.
So we
And
had
you
ice
just
cream
get a couple
vans, and you have
Milo vans.
hot chocky vans.
No, but back home it's iced because obviously
Ice.
the weather.
Oh, fair.
It's ice
Yeah,
Milo.
that makes sense.
Um,
I'll let you off with that.
yeah, that resembles me as a person. But also my Milo stock is running low, so just put out a Heineken from the fridge.
Yep. Well, we'll let that slide. If you had
We'll come
brought a
back to it
Milo,
later.
if you had brought a Milo, oh no, we're never mentioning this again. Or maybe I will. Maybe I'll mock you in future podcasts. If
Yeah.
you brought a Milo, I would have guessed it correctly, and I'd have given you a 4.5 out of 5. However, you brought a Budweiser and a Heineken. I'm going to give you a 2.
Okay,
2 out of
fair
5.
Fair enough.
And actually, wait, is that Heineken 0? Or is that an actual Heineken?
Just actual Heineken, mate.
Right, fine then. You're keeping a 2. If that had been a Heineken Zero,
It would have dropped.
you would have dropped at least 1.5 on the rating scale. Oh, dear. Well, this is probably the best time to talk about the sponsor for today's SHAF.
Ooh, you have a sponsor.
I do have a sponsor, yeah. And you
really?
should know,
Awesome.
because guess what? The sponsor for today's podcast, the first podcast from the production booth, is SHAF. You are the sponsor. Congratulations. Happy birthday. I will send
hey.
you a bill in the post or by email. I don't actually remember your address, so
Oh,
that'll
how
be
could
£5,
you?
please.
Oh, now that's hurt me.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't remember your address either.
No, I don't remember it that much either.
I know you live by Richmond.
I have moved 8 times since 2016.
No.
Yeah,
Has it been 8 times?
8 times. I lived. I'm not going to give out my addresses. This is a bad
But
idea.
obviously, Pazza. And there's a few
Well-
addresses in London.
I lived 2 places in Wakefield. I moved house just before I came to uni.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I moved in April. Then in September, I moved to Halls, Paragon, London. Moved back home. Had to pack up again.
Yeah.
Where did we go after that? 125 Sterling Place. I'm
Yeah,
happy to drop
125.
that name bomb. I'm happy to drop 137 as well, because uni accommodation, wow. That's 5.
Yeah. That was the time. That was the time.
Moved over to Greenford. That's
Oh,
6.
God, yeah.
Then I moved here. So actually it's 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah. Still though, 7 times.
I mean, you got a
Well,
lovely
yeah.
place now, though. I feel like, in the weirdest way, like, it took you all of those places to get to where you are now. And you've got I mean, fair play, you've got such a lovely place.
I'm happy where I am now. It's just a bit breathtaking. Oh, breathtaking. That came out really, really wrong. It's a breath of fresh air, is
There
what
you
I
go.
meant to
There you
say.
go.
It's breathtaking, chef. I'm so.
You're
Oh wow.
breathtaking.
No. It's just nice to wake up to, or go to bed rather, to silence, to
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I look out the window and there's squirrels or there's deer, rather than, I don't know, a man in Greenford attacking a bus because he thinks it owes him money or something like that. Which isn't an
yeah.
exaggeration. I'm going to shout out Luke and Jess for
Yeah,
surviving that chapter of my life with me.
Yeah,
Good
I
lord.
mean, it's a really nice place, and you guys have done well. And I guess, would you say that you're staying for the long run? Well, not long run, but you're happy there for like a few years.
We're definitely going to stay another year. I don't want to move again. Like I've already said, I have moved far too much, and
Yeah.
we've actually put some money into this place as far as furniture and whatnot. And
Yeah, of course.
I want to stay still. Moving during lockdown was stressful as it was.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I can completely imagine that. I mean, it's the same with me here. Like, I'm really content with where I am right now, and it's a really nice area compared to
Yeah.
South Ealing.
Of course.
So it's been, really comfortable for me, and it's been really convenient as well, just traveling where I need to go. So I'm happy to stay here for a little bit longer.
You're close to uni as well anyway, aren't you? So
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
how is
About
that
10
going?
minutes.
Because I was thinking about this recently.
Yeah.
You've done an extra... Are you doing it's a 2-year master's course, isn't it?
Well, it technically goes for a year, but we don't get our dissertation module till, I want to say, July. So we get it really, really late. You know, like how we
Yes.
did our major project and we get it at the start of the year.
Yeah,
And you have your
yeah.
whole year to do it. Whereas this time, you get the dissertation module or a thesis module in like June, and you have all the way till September to do it. And even then, they give you like extra months to kind of get tutorials or if there's any other stuff you want to sort out. So I technically have it till like 2022, which is mad.
Yeah, that is quite... That's long. That means if you started, technically it was your foundation.
Yeah, 2016.
But you started your degree in 2016. 6 years.
Almost 6 years. Almost
And
6
SHAF
years, Nate.
leaving with his masters.
Yeah, it's all right.
How is that? I can't really say how different it is during the circumstances. Again, I'm trying not to talk about 2020, but
yeah, it is very different though. I mean, well, for a start, I kind of made the mistake of going into this thinking, oh, this is just going to be year 4 of uni. But it's very, very different. I mean, the way I can describe masters is basically the course is for people who love studying and want to come back just to keep studying. That's how I would describe the masters. And it's been really weird with all the circumstances, just considering like even minute things like, you know, for example, you go to the studio in the MRC to book equipment, you just get out like a dynamic and a condenser kit, and you can just pick out which one you want to use for the day. Whereas now they don't do that anymore. You have to book them all individually because you have to quarantine the equipment after you've used it. So I could rock up to a studio session and I want to get like a 414, but I can't use it. So you just kind of have to work around limitations, and you're
So really, when it comes to studio sessions, do they treat it the same? Because they wouldn't be able to book enough people in unless they're sanitizing.
Yeah, there's limitations. Like, I don't know about Basement 1 and 2 because those studios have never really been my favorites. But for example, Basement 3, you're only allowed one person in the control room, and you're allowed like 2 people in the live room.
You must have had to rearrange and restructure assessments. Like
yeah, they've been super lenient, which is good, but there's still a lot of like workload to do. So it's been a little bit stressful, but on the plus side, before recording this podcast, I got my assignments for the semester done. So I'm just basically free from assessments up till next month. But I think more than anything, I'm using this time while studying to really focus on this whole music thing.
Yeah.
And fire on all cylinders. Because, I mean, I obviously, you've known me for a while. And I should mention in this podcast as well, Tom here is so integral with my path. Because you literally are the first person I started working with. I could never write second verses beforehand, and you used to be my ghostwriter in some regards.
Ghostwriter confirmed. I actually thought it was Jack Phillips who you worked with first. For Chemical.
Not necessarily. I think Jack and Cam did. I think they did the mix for the very first version of Chemical, and props to them.
Luke mastered it, did he?
Yeah, Luke mastered it. And I think beyond then, I didn't really know where to go, and then it wasn't until I did again, and then that's when you and I started becoming friends, and you went, we
were friends before that. It's just...
Yeah, we were friends before then, but then I think that's when we started working together musically.
Yeah.
And it just kind of snowballed from there.
I remember that day, actually. We were in your room in Paragon.
Yeah, I remember that
I think
as well.
You and Luke were recording vocals. He stepped out of the room for 5 minutes. I was like, right, okay. And I just very cheekily thought, I'm going to squeeze my way in here. And Luke came back and we had redone some things. And I rearranged, not the session, but at least the vocal tracks. And Luke was like, what are you doing? I was like, just trust me, do it this way for a second. And
yeah,
then,
I mean, also, you taught me how to use doubling for the first time as well. You showed me what doubling.
Oh, doubling, yeah.
Like, I didn't know what it was until you showed me, I believe it was an a cappella or a vocals-only version of Breaking the Habit. And I was listening to it.
Probably.
Or
Numb's the first one that I showed to people, at least people that are aware of the song.
Yeah, and you showed me Numb. Obviously, with Linkin Park being both of us collectively, I don't know if they're your favorite band.
We'll get onto that later. That is definitely something I want to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
I remember you showing me that. I just went,
that
wow.
track itself is one of the reasons why I got into production, I guess. Like, I already loved the song, and I
Of
love
course.
that band. But when it came to actually trying to record music, and I was like, oh, why doesn't this sound anything like what I want it to? The problem I actually
Yeah.
had is that I was questioning why I didn't sound like Chester Bennington, and
Oh God, yeah.
there
Yeah.
are obvious reasons for that, but something that people completely dismiss all the time is how much production is actually a factor in these things, and
Oh, absolutely. And people
vocal
don't really
layering.
think about how much work goes into it. It's not just someone sitting in the room, them jamming out, and someone presses record and that's it. They're done for the
Oh
day.
God,
It's
no.
just sitting on a chair, just doing takes over and over and over again, especially if you're a perfectionist and you just work overtime. You work twice as
Your
hard.
your eyes were just. I apologize.
I mean, not knocking you. I mean, you've got a great ear, but you definitely are a perfectionist. Even like, I remember us recording vocals and I just sing one single note and you just went, right, do it again. And you just kind of, and we would have so many vocal takes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry because I feel like everybody, especially anyone that produces themselves, they need to go through that.
Oh, absolutely.
They
I
need to
think
understand.
if you didn't do that to me, I wouldn't really be conscious of how I want my vocals to sound
That's
now.
definitely something. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
until a lot of it is red light syndrome. You don't realize not
Yeah.
how bad you are, but how far from perfect you are until
Yeah,
you are in
yeah.
that situation. And I would not to toot my own horn here, but I would definitely say I think I helped get that across to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely did.
Yeah.
And I think that was really important as well, just kind of for me to go through that because especially now when I'm recording my own vocals, I don't really have anyone around to help me record vocals. It makes me, sit back and listen to them over and over again and just even the simple idea of comping and going and selecting takes, like it doesn't have to be one singular take that you have to nail right.
Yeah,
And it's just a matter of taking bits from it. And I definitely got a lot of that from you and just kind of showing me the ropes of not even vocal recording per se, but just getting the performance out of the artist and out of yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just before I forget, anyone that is curious as to how or to what we're talking about, if you don't know much about production, go and check out the a cappella version of Numb by
Yeah,
Linkin Park.
yeah, for sure.
And especially in the chorus, you will hear what we're talking about, vocal layering and how much goes into recording and producing music.
Yeah,
Because it definitely opens your eyes. It's hard to hear at first, but you can't really not hear it afterwards.
yeah, yeah. It's like compression as well. I didn't know what it did when I first came here, and then when I heard it for the first time, you just can't unhear it. It
Yeah.
will be there forever, and it's even like going back to doubling as well. You might not hear it in the context of the mix, and then you solo it out.
That is its purpose, and
Yeah,
that is
yeah, exactly. And you solo it out, and then once you take it out of the mix, knowing that it was meant to be there, you just kind of go, "Oh, something's missing,"
yeah.
which
That's
has
kind
always
of
been
how
so
I look
interesting
at,
to me.
especially because I'm a guitarist, and to me that is bass. Bass is so important, but it's not something that is at the front of your mix,
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
front of the track. It's often something that, until it's been removed, you don't. You should know it's there. You know it's there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, until it's gone, you don't realize how valuable it is, and you don't realize just how much of a difference it's making.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things you could talk about in production wise, but now you are definitely 100% a solo producer. I think Lockdown, like, you are doing literally everything yourself now, aren't you?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I started, yeah. I'd say definitely Lockdown was the catalyst for that because I want to say the EP I started taking the solo ropes myself, but I still had like I still had Nikki to help me out, you know. But I think lockdown, and especially coming back and, you know, being in your own creative bubble and, you know, writing everything yourself and working out samples and instrumentation yourself, and you're thinking about the way vocals work and how you want this to sound for this particular verse or this particular chorus. I've pretty much become a solo producer, and I've actually become like really comfortable with it, actually.
That is the end goal, being happy with your work.
Just being happy with what you do. I think that's what I've been feeling.
You can do it yourself, but if you're not happy, what's the point? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing it myself and no one's ever going to hear this, which is, I guess, the problem that I have.
I mean, it just takes time, mate. It's a lot of trial and error as well.
Yeah. I think I just don't enjoy making music by myself as much as I enjoy making with other people. I think that's probably my that's what I need. I think after this, we've always said one day we will start something together, but
we do.
I think
we need to. We've talked about this for years.
Oh, literally years. Since 2016, we have talked about making music together.
Since 2016.
We've written music together. It's just that we've never... It's always been like, oh, I'll help you out with this and you help me out with that. And it's, SHAF, what key is this in? Or do these drums sound like real drums to you? Or does this sound playable? Do I need to change that?
Yeah. But we've never formed and created an actual project together yet.
No.
Which hopefully after lockdown or at some point soon we will.
Yeah.
We definitely
That's what I need. Because there's so many times where I just don't have the motivation to just continue with something that I was happy with a week ago. But you open up the session again, you're like, I could do this, but it's just so draining. I think with my EP that I released, it definitely felt when you write, record, mix, and I had to get someone else to master it. I was literally at the point of it would have never been released. I would have just sat in it for as long as possible. And you almost need to set yourself targets and
absolutely.
But not a release date per se, but a date where you say, actually, if I don't release it by here or by this date, it's never going to be released. For my first single, for example, it had to be on that day, otherwise it just wouldn't have made sense further on. So,
and that's exactly what happened with Like and Retweet, because I've had been working on all these songs since I'd say January. January was when I started to get the ball rolling and thinking about where I wanted to go next with my sound, and then it was lockdown that kind of catalyzed everything. But
this is almost like the third
sitting
chapter,
there,
isn't it?
I'd say so. I'd say so. It's a really weird thing to kind of think about, because obviously Drive the System was a thing that I'm grateful it happened.
Is that as open as it is, or is this like a... Have you talked about Drive the System that much?
No, I have not. I actually have not.
I knew SHAF when he was Drive the System.
God, yeah. That was just a project. I mean, basically what it was, I just had an 80s phase. that was all it was. And then I just went, right, I'm not happy with this anymore. I'm not happy with the name. Changed the artist name. And obviously Lost Inside was the first song from that, from this whole thing. It's the one that started everything fresh. And I still love that song.
It definitely did feel fresh. Something about Lost Inside, like to this day, it felt like a new chapter. It felt like SHAF's in a new direction.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that was probably the biggest change with Lost Inside, and then obviously going into Without You and Toxic. And then there was the EP, which I still love it. There are songs that I still love, like Voices and Haywire. But then there are other songs that were carried on from the Drive the System era.
Yeah, that era.
Which I guess that was probably why I wasn't too happy with it, just because it wasn't brand new, and it was almost kind of like trying to make it sound better. So I still have conflicting feelings with that EP, but I remember the start of this year just starting to write new material, and then it got to a point at the end of the year. I wouldn't say at the end of the year, but like somewhere in October, where I just went, I need to put something out this year. And I put a mental deadline saying, if I can write a new song, and get it out in November, I'll be happy. Because I wanted to release all the other songs I've been working on, but it just wasn't the right time. Obviously with everything going on, and a lot of those tracks were something that will be meant for the summer period. So I was like, I just need to figure out something, and I couldn't think of an idea until I had that guitar riff in my head with like a retweet. And then as soon as I put that down on a canvas, on a project, it just snowballed and everything happened so quickly. And before you know it, had everything recorded within 3 days, sent it to Nicky, and he just went, this is cool, re-record this. And then I think re-record some guitars, sent it to him, put everything together, and then just like that, it was done. And then that's just been the catalyst now. Like, yeah, I think that's the aim with this era. I'm just aiming to just kind of, be free of genres and just kind of say what I want to say. I think make music for music, exactly, yeah.
Sounds good. So it's not really anything specific. It's more a collection of things where you thought, you know what, let's try something new. Let's take this in a new direction.
Yeah. Pretty much. I would call this era. I mean, you've known me for a while, and how much of a theatrical person I am when it comes to music. Whereas this time round, it's more just whatever I'm feeling, just wherever the music takes me, I'm just gonna do it. Like, Like and Retweet was a very punk with a pop edge song, and then you've got I'm So Bored, which is very tropical pop. There's a song that's more ambient, there's a song that's more hip-hop influenced, and it's just kind of thinking, like, actually I say thinking, but it's less thinking. It's just kind of letting the music take over and see where it goes and just put it out, really. That's been my mentality recently.
I like it. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the stuff.
Thanks,
would
mate.
you say that's a similar way of looking at things when it comes to the lyrical aspects, or?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the lyrical aspects are always still the same. I usually tackle important issues. Yeah. Or actually, I say important issues, but something that's honest and something that I'm feeling. It's personal in that regard, just because I want my art to be the most honest representation of myself, and the lyrics go in tandem with that. But I do feel like and Retweet was the first carefree approach that I took with the lyrics, just because I remember just kind of being disengaged with the social media world and how much drama there is and how much negative energy there is online, especially within a time like this. And I thought, the easiest route would be for me to rant about it and make an angry song. But I thought, you know what? Instead of taking that route, why don't I just put myself in their shoes and make like a really sassy, sarcastic song? And it's just trying, different things, but I'm still tackling topics such as mental health and depression, anxiety, social acceptance, just because I feel those topics strongly relate to who I am. And I definitely want my music to be a safe space for whoever listens to it. If they can escape for 3 minutes, that's my goal. That's my end goal, really.
That's cool. That's good. Obviously, I'm not going to press you into giving us any more information about singles coming around the corner. You've just released 2 quite quickly, to be honest. I wasn't expecting another so quick after Like and Retweet, but
I mean, I didn't either, and I just kind of, and I should have thought about the timing, because I put out I'm So Bored as lockdown ended, but it's still relevant. And I think my mindset with that song was, I just want to put something out for, just to lift people's spirits. With everything going on, I just wanted to create like a fun bop for people to, escape for 3 minutes and just kind of enjoy themselves and escape reality for a bit. But No, I'm actually happy to tease upcoming singles. There's one. I don't know if I want to. Screw it. I'll drop a name. there is one with a working title of "You." Just that. That
You mean
will
the
probably
word
be,
"you"? Or
yeah,
Tom?
the word "you," or it might be the letter, or Tom, just Tom. But that's one. That's probably something I definitely want to put out first, as the first release of next year. It sounds like a crossover between Avril Lavigne and like 2000s pop, because I think that's what I've been loving right now. I've been really associating with the 2000s era of music and pop music. I think that's where the direction has been going for me. The naughty naughties. There's a song called Trouble, which you've heard before.
Oh wow, that's an old one actually, isn't it?
Yeah,
you played that at your the first gig
Draper's
at the
Arms.
Drapers, yeah.
Drapers,
when was that now? Was that 2017 or 2018?
No, not that old. It was 2019.
Oh well.
It was only last year, mate.
Time is just a construct when you think about it.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
Like...
I mean, the funny thing is, the only reason why I wrote that song in the first place was because for that gig, I remember Brian saying, play 6 songs, and I had 5. And I was like, oh God, I need another one.
Yeah.
So that just kind of came quickly, and I never really worked on it up until this year.
What I love about really you saying that is you needed 6 songs and you only have 5, but one of those 5 was the Backstreet Boys. So... technically,
yeah, that is true. I forgot I did a cover of Backstreet Boys as well.
I have never seen an entire pub so like, yeah, go on then, let's just join him.
Yeah, that was a good gig. That was like, a really good gig.
It's what you expect to see when people have bought tickets to a show and they know the artist. But something about that, it was just like, oh, who's this guy? Yeah, this is fun. Let's all sing. I liked that.
Yeah.
That was a good moment. And then I remember that night very well because Jack won the raffle, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he won the raffle.
Yeah.
What did he win? What was the prize?
Oh, he just won like
it was a free pint. It was free.
Yeah, it was a bar tab. So he bought a few people drinks. So I was like, oh, this is
Fair
great.
enough. Yeah.
Free gig, free drinks. Why would I pay to support my friends? Like,
why would I pay to support my friends when I can just give them free drinks?
Exactly. It was Red Rooms, the other gig that I want to talk about, because that somehow topped that moment at Draper's Arms.
That was a really special gig, considering that the start of the night before you guys arrived, it was pretty much a thing, and like things were in the gutter, to be honest, because we got there.
It was in the guts when we got there. Like,
I honestly thought I wasn't going to perform that night because of all the technical issues.
Yeah, it was just technical, which happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to be. I remember now because you were supposed to be the first act on, weren't you?
The opener.
Yeah.
The first act, yeah.
And then once all the problems had gone, you guys actually ended up going on last. So you somehow
second last, yeah.
Was it second to last? Oh, it was
second, yeah.
Who was it like after you? Was it Sharmides?
It was the Flits.
The Flits. Oh, they must have been on before you. Either way, I remember making jokes about how you sabotaged everything so you could get a later spot on the lineup.
Oh man, I'm just fortunate for that. I mean, I'm fortunate for a start that we were able to play that night, but I'm also fortunate with how the crowd. Yeah, and I do miss that. I definitely want to bring that back.
Who else was there? There was you, Nikki, Shaw, Pete,
Peter, and Marvin.
I've got Marvin. Yeah, of course. I knew there was 5.
It was a 5-band setup, which was really cool. It was a different avenue. It was interesting for the first time to step into that leader role per se, because
Yeah.
when we were rehearsing, it was kind of like the first time just me going, oh, this should sound like this, maybe we could try that. But I've always been adamant on everyone having an open card and laying all of
Yeah,
them on
whereas
the table.
it's your gig.
But it was a great night. I definitely, well, in the future when things are safe again,
Yeah.
I've had thoughts of how I want to do these new songs live, like a 3-band setup. But I've also had thoughts of
three-piece?
doing like a live stream thing as well. Yeah, 3-piece. Just kind of low key stealing off 21 Pilots, where not everything has to be played live. We have backing tracks along with it.
There's more money to be made that way,
Yeah.
The less band members, the less money you have to split. And it also means one day if you were to go travelling on a small tour, there'd be more room on the bus or the van.
More room on the bus.
Or maybe a Fiat Punto, whatever you can afford, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Who knows?
I do want to talk, before I get too much into music, about what was probably one of the best months of my life, but probably one of the worst months of your life.
Oh no, it's Malaysia, isn't it?
Malaysia, indeed.
It wasn't the worst. I honestly loved that trip. It was the best trip of my life.
When someone asks me how was Malaysia, it's one of those moments where I tell people, oh, it was great, we did all these wonderful things, and I tell them all of the things that they want to hear about Malaysia and Singapore.
Yeah.
And I paint it as being really good. But the first things that pop into my head are you banging your head on a steering wheel because you can't stand us being in the car.
Also it was in a time where I was still like getting used to the humor that you guys present as well. Because that was still in a way very new to me.
2 years. It had been 2 years.
It had been, yeah. I can, but I don't know what it was. I think I don't even know what it was.
Oh god! I
It was a great trip though. It still to this day is my favorite trip, and sometime in the future we definitely have to. Do round
absolutely.
two.
Like I cannot put into words how thankful I am for the hospitality from your parents, and not just that actually, because we offered to pay for things while we're out there, but not once were we allowed. I'm talking whether it was £3 for a coffee or a drink. Where was the first place we went? We went to a hotel and a beach and a.
Park Royal.
Yes,
Park Royal. Yeah.
We ate, which. When I think about it, the price of the food would have been about £8 for a meal, which isn't expensive by any means to us.
Yeah.
However, it was about 40 ringgit in your currency, as I remember.
Yeah. It was.
And
it was.
to say that we could have gone 2 minutes down the road and got something to eat for, 5 ringgit,
Yeah, that's true.
That was the bit I was
true.
like, oh my god, his parents are like, how can we thank them enough? I'm so grateful for everything from that
It's
holiday.
just the Asian hospitality, mate. Like that's always been it,
Big up
especially
Asia.
big up Asia, big up back home. But that's pretty much just the Asian hospitality. Like that's never changed and probably will never change.
Yeah.
So if we go back for round 2, it's gonna be the exact same thing.
Oh, I'm thinking. If we were to go back, we'd have to have a checklist. Because
We have to do Thailand. We have to do
Thailand.
Thailand.
We have to
we
do.
have to do Thailand.
How close were we to? It's close to Vietnam. Am I thinking? Where's the other place that we were thinking about going? Did it begin with a V?
Was
I
it
might just be
Bali?
mistaken.
Was it Bali that we were thinking of doing?
Oh, I can't remember.
No, it wasn't Bali. But we've always said Thailand as a joke, or
Yeah.
you guys memed it a lot. But next trip, we have to do it. We have to do Thailand.
Definitely.
There are still some places in Malaysia that just because of time, I didn't get to take you guys, like Malacca. I need to take you guys there.
We went to the capital, KL, Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, we went to KL.
Langkawi, Singapore.
Yep.
Which I didn't realise until we actually got there. Singapore was a different country. I thought it was just
It's similar. I mean, Singapore is just the richer version of Malaysia.
Yeah.
I'm playing my words very carefully as a Malaysian.
If he's dead in the next 24 hours, it's because you won't be, because this podcast won't be out in 24 hours, I doubt.
But if I'm dead by the time this podcast comes out, you know why.
Yeah.
The evidence is here.
And it's not me. In fact, this is probably I have an alibi that I predicted his death. But that's not an alibi. It's actually more evidence against it, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Let's move on from that topic.
anyways.
Oh, but yeah, we went to a gig in Malaysia.
We did, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the music scene out there as well, because it's good. Like,
it's amazing.
Like, you know a lot of musicians out there. Have you ever?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you keep in contact with them.
Definitely. I think that's the most important thing to me as well. Just kind of keep in contact with the scene back home. I'm not too familiar with the KL music scene, but the Penang music scene is phenomenal. There are so many amazing artists and bands that unfortunately aren't really getting the recognition that they deserve. And I think...
Do you think that's because of it being in Malaysia, or do you think
I think that, yeah, I think not necessarily with a lot of parents, but the norm is that doing music as a full-time profession is usually frowned upon.
Yeah.
Because usually you're expected to conform and do like a doctor's.
I'm glad you said it and not me, because it's a stereotype, but it's also
a stereotype, but it's true though. That's the thing.
They want you to do well, don't they? They want their child to be successful. So
yeah, absolutely.
I do understand it.
I do understand it as well. But there are so many amazing bands and artists that I know back home that have so much talent and just raw. I don't even know how to put into words. Like, you remember we saw Calvin. I'm gonna shout out Calvin Young, who is a phenomenal guitarist. The dude with the red hair and the red guitar.
Yeah, I
remember him ripping it up on stage, and I just turned around to you, and you had your jaw dropped.
Yeah.
And I was obviously Volatile with Sean.
I always remember there was a solo guy on there who was hilarious.
Oh,
it was
Isaac, yeah.
Isaac, yeah.
Isaac, oh, yeah.
There was one point I didn't remember. I forgot. Is this a stand-up routine, or is it a music performance? Like, the two blended so well that if he wanted, he could absolutely advertise it as something very, very vague and just go with it. Which
absolutely. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal
enjoyed
artist.
myself so much during that set.
Yeah.
I think he was doing like he sang a song about his cat, and I can't remember whether it was. I think it was like trying to be cheerful, but I think it might have been about his cat dying or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And I was in hysterics, but it was just like, oh my god, why are we laughing at this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and he complimented it. He compliments it well with his, amazing talent, his insane vocals. But yeah, the music scene is great back home, and I definitely want people to draw more attention to it, and that's why nights like that, the Indie Penang night, Indie PG nights, where there's there's a lot of amazing local talent that just kind of play on one night. And obviously, you saw the setup. It was two different stages.
Oh,
yeah. It was kind of turned back and forth.
It was better than most local band gigs that you would get over here.
But no, it's amazing. I do miss the music scene back home. Yeah. I think the next time I go back to Penang to visit, just whenever, I love to engage more with the music scene.
Yeah, you have to be part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as big Malaysian musicians that you know, there's no one that's quote unquote made it, would you say? Because a lot of it is about breaking it's mainly America, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
break America and then you
Well, there's an artist that I love called Yuna. She definitely has
yeah.
she's I guess she's one of the first to really, how do I describe it? And she's definitely the first to go mainstream because she did a song with Usher and she did a song with Owl
Fairs.
City, and she really
Fairs.
managed to break it. She's living in LA right now, and yeah, I love her stuff. There are a few big Malaysian artists that exactly haven't broken out of it yet, but I definitely would love them to. Yeah, there's so many amazing up and coming artists that I think definitely at some point in the future will break it.
Good, good.
Like absolutely for sure. There's so many amazing talent right now.
Awesome. Well, at least we'll hear SHAF one day, who will... Would you say... Would you still identify yourself as a Malaysian artist? I'm guessing.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think, yeah. Well, I'd say... God. I'd usually just be called an artist, and obviously, even though I'm based here, my heritage is still an important part of me.
Absolutely.
And I actually definitely in the future, there have been some songs. I haven't put them out yet because I'm not confident yet, but I have written some songs in Malay,
Wow.
which I definitely want to break that boundary of having it only be listened to back home. And
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely want to bring it to Western Shores just because
What's
my
the,
heritage is still very important to me.
Is it One OK Rock?
Yeah.
That they yeah, you already know what I'm going to say. They record each album. They record the vocals in both English and Japanese.
Yeah.
The two different versions.
Yeah, they do.
Would you consider doing something like that, or would it be more just like a one-off single, or maybe short EP? Or
I consider not even doing two different versions, just kind of blending the two.
Blending
to be
them,
honest. Yeah, and even maybe have some songs kind of take the K-pop approach as well, where you have some maybe like an English verse and a Malay verse, and you have them interconnect within the two, just because, especially with how accessible it is and how well it's done, it seems seamless. It's just a matter of getting the lyrical department right.
Yeah,
because like,
and we can judge you on all your Oh, he's frozen.
No, I'm not frozen.
Still there?
I'm still there. I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh, sorry, you froze on my screen. No,
Oh, really? Fair.
We can judge you on how bilingual you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we'll do. We'll put all of your Malaysian lyrics into Google Translate, and well, I'll have to know what you're on about anyway, won't I?
Yeah, I'll just text you. Yeah, this is what the song's about, mate. But,
oh well, I'm looking forward to that. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, don't know when it's gonna happen, but sometime in the future, I definitely gonna put out a Malay song.
The thought is there. It's just a matter of when it's appropriate.
Yeah, and how I'm gonna approach it, just because I haven't really written a lot of Malay songs, and it's very different. It's very, very different.
As far as, because I want to get onto not just influences, but like music to you, because this could be a long conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know somewhat what your biggest influences, your favorite genres, artists, albums, that kind of thing. We'll start with genres, I guess, because that's something that I know you could tick many boxes for that.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because obviously you talk about the 80s being an influence to your early music, but before that I remember you would write sort of pop punk. Now you're in this, I guess you'd call it a modern pop, would you?
Yeah,
seems
I'd
to be
say
at the
so.
moment.
Definitely, yeah.
What would you say your influences were then? Like, going from a young age, we're talking all the way back to Linkin Park, where you say you'd get your mum to draw.
Yeah. I got my mom to draw Chester's tattoos on my arms every day.
That's dedication.
And fair play to her as well. Like, really, really fair play to her for
Putting up with you. This on a separate note, just fair play for putting up with SHAF. Like,
yeah, Mom. Thank
you, Auntie.
Shout out to Mom. Thanks for putting up with me when I was 5, and even up to now. Just thanks for putting up with me now.
Before I was 5, you had to do it. It was your job.
You had to do it. It was your job, but you still put up with me now. But no, yeah. I mean, Linkin Park. They're still my favorite band. Like, they're timeless to me. I mean, I started this whole music thing because I wanted to be like Chester. I wanted to be like Mike Shinoda. And the whole reason I took interest into production was because I just saw... I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the Meteor documentary because you introduced me to that. But it definitely was... It's something from 1,000 Suns where I must have saw Mike producing some of their sessions, and I just looked at Mike and Johan, and it's
like a behind the scenes, and you think, wow, that's actually it's cool, isn't it? And then just went from there.
Definitely. But if I want to talk about my influences, growing up, I'm just trying to think of what albums meant to me the most. So Linkin Park was definitely up there.
Think first, what made you pick up certain instruments? Because I actually forget how many things you can play. Like, as far as drums, guitar, bass, keys. And there's something else in there as well. Obviously vocals, yeah. There is something else you play, I swear.
No, it's just those.
Oh, is it? Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just those.
I don't know why. I had this idea that you played, like, some woodwind instrument.
I did want to. I did have thoughts of...
It might have been a conversation that...
Yeah, I did have thoughts of learning saxophone, but I don't think I've ever gone around to it. I've tried, but in terms of people... Oh, Prince for sure. Prince was one of the people that... I think I remember watching... He did a Super Bowl performance, and I remember this very clearly, watching it for the first time on TV. He did a Super Bowl performance, and he played Purple Rain, and there's a bit where, like, almost like a curtain risen up, and it was a silhouette of him playing the guitar and just ripping it. And I just went, wow, I want to be like that. So I picked that up. David Bowie as well. Oh, actually, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson definitely is a big inspiration, and still up to this day, actually.
Yeah.
Just because his ear for music, and obviously the way he wrote his songs and his melodies, they still play into how I write my songs. But in terms of my influences now, I want to say it's definitely pop. I've been listening to a lot of Charlie XCX, this guy named Grayson Chance, who is a phenomenal solo artist and a phenomenal producer as well. I've been listening to a lot of BTS, a lot of the stuff on the radio you hear, Brockhampton. Yeah. Just because pop music tends to be overlooked, but they have phenomenal production. And
it has to be. It's I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but pop music is one of those things where it has to sound a certain quality. Like, it's got to be radio all the time. This cannot be anything but perfect quality. That's the way that I kind of see things. Not that that's a bad thing at all. It just definitely, you get the sense that it has to be pushed to the point of...
Yeah.
If this isn't up to the standard of other things on the radio, quality-wise, it's not going to stick.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that they do their vocal productions and the way they layer their instruments and how they mix it with, I don't know, like samples, it really stands out to me. But also grew up with the hip-hop scene as well. Like NWA and Wu-Tang Clan. Just artists like that, I think, because when I was growing up, it was Linkin Park. Actually, it's so funny because both of my parents had completely different music tastes. You had my dad, who was like
that was
Iron Maiden. It was like my dad was like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, like that 80s classic rock or 70s classic rock. And my mom hates rock. she can't stand it. So her music discography is like Luther Vandross and Mary J. Blige. And although it's so, because I don't really take those influences, I think I'm just into like the 90s, 2000s era of music. That's pretty much a lot of my music taste right now.
Yeah.
But also just kind of any pop nowadays that's inspired by that. That's what I've been listening to a lot.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Busted in there. Especially with since they reformed.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The thing with Busted is, I don't want to say I've exhausted it, but I think I have grown out of Busted just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it was mainly just because when I was still in Malaysia, Busted and, for example, McFly as well, they would never tour outside of the UK.
Yeah.
So it was always like, oh, I'm going to move to the UK, I'm going to get to see them for the first time. And then after I've seen them, I've seen Busted a few times. I've seen Busted a few times. And after just watching them and just kind of hearing how the music is going, I think I've definitely moved on to other avenues of music.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Oh, you froze again then, sorry. It's weird to think of how many... Like, I always like to emphasise to people that there's more than just one genre out there. There's more than one type of music to listen to, because everyone always assumes, for example, I think it's fair to say my favourite type of music is that rock and metal kind of stuff. But people always seem extremely surprised when you mention anything about even someone like Eminem, for example, which is far from a hidden treasure, is it? And people are like, oh, wait, you like that as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that just blows my mind sometimes. So, as far as like, that's a good question actually, a really hidden treasure, someone that people would definitely not expect you to have listened to. One of your favourite artists, which is was not expecting that from SHAF, kind of.
Oh, I'd say BTS for sure.
BTS, yeah.
Definitely BTS.
They're the
just because, the
K-pop group.
Just because the K-pop, they're the biggest band right now. But I think obviously K-pop is still dismissed by a lot of the general public, and to be fair, there is a lot of K-pop I don't listen to. But I think I really resonated with BTS just because of like the different things that they were trying within their music, and the fact that they write a lot of their songs, and especially this new album that came out, I want to say somewhere last month at the end of November. They completely self-produced it.
I was about to say, it sounds like you're talking about it's the production behind it, like it makes a big difference, doesn't it? Like,
and they are phenomenal musicians. Yeah, absolutely.
To me, knowing when people make the music themselves, that it really just think, I appreciate it even more now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna name drop one of the members. His stage name is Sugar, and he acts as one of the rappers in the group. And no, not Meshuggah. Imagine if it was Meshuggah.
I'm just gonna name drop Meshuggah. I was
dudes
like, what?
from Meshuggah making a song with BTS. But no. There's a member of the group named Suga, and he acts as one of the rappers in the group. But he also has a solo project, and he self-produces a lot of the BTS stuff. And he is a phenomenal producer. Like, his ear for it, and kind of like the little ear candies that he drops in, like little ad-libs or little just some of the little vocal processing that he does, and what instruments he uses and what samples he uses. Like, I take a lot of influence from that. And yeah, I'd say BTS is probably the hidden treasure for me. Shout out to them. Love those boys.
Awesome. We've covered quite a bit of ground there. As far as your influences go, when it comes to genres, if you could give me your top 3, maybe 5, if you can't narrow it down.
God.
Obviously, I think we'd have to say pop as being that.
Ooh. Yeah, pop. Gosh, I will definitely say rap.
Yeah.
I'll definitely say neo soul as well, for sure.
Soul.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that.
I love soul. I love neo soul. People like Mary J. Blige and Luther Vandross.
Yeah, like your mum's influences.
Some of those artists within that realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That I definitely take a lot of those now. And what else?
Like the music that you grew up around.
Yeah, for sure. I also still love rock. There are some bands that there are bands that I don't listen to as much anymore, like particularly pop punk. I don't listen to pop punk as much anymore, but there are bands like Royal Blood, who I think they're one of my favorite bands right now. Like Royal Blood, Architects, Fever, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like I've been loving that side of rock the most, and I mean I've always been fans of a genre that blends multiple. So like new metal, obviously early Linkin Park, Fever to some regard, Deftones, just some, and Slipknot as well, like blending hip hop and rock together.
Yeah,
like I just love that.
It's like a little cocktail, a new creation, something that, especially something that seems a bit bland, but then you add something to it. Like I think that's what made Rage Against the Machine, for example, so just unique at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're still unique now, aren't they? Who am I kidding? To this day,
they're still relevant. They're still relevant, and their songs, the message behind it is still so powerful.
They were going to play Reading this year.
I know.
They were going to reform.
I'm very gutted about that. I really wanted to see Rage this year, so badly.
We'll have to see what's happening next year. Because I know, for example, Download, they basically said, 2021. Here's the lineup, earlier than they've ever done before, and it's about 60% the same, I'd say. A lot of the big ones are still there.
Yeah, I think they got rid of Iron Maiden, but they've replaced it with Biffy, which I would love to see Biffy as well. Yeah. Biffy's one of my favorite bands right now.
I somewhat saw them in 2017. They were on the Saturday night. I can't remember who I was watching. I might have been Simple Plan. Then I went to see the end of Biffy.
Yeah, I remember you saying. Really want to see Biffy. They're one of my favorite bands as well.
They were good. I was... Looking back, I was a bit too harsh because I was quite disappointed when because that was the year they announced, who was it? It was a Blink, might have been Green Day and Linkin Park for the French download.
Yeah.
And I was you know what this means. You know what this means. Then the UK download, it was like, who was it? It was System, Biffy Clyro, and Aerosmith. I was like,
you got to see Aerosmith though, which is mad.
Like I still saw you see the headliners are always good, but I think because in my head it was going to be Linkin Park, it was going to be Blink. I was like, oh, that's a shame. But oh well.
Yeah.
I'll see Blink eventually one day, and unfortunately I'll never see Linkin Park. But
I know, which sucks.
although Mike says they are making music again. So.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to approach it. I don't know whether they're going to do a new band or whether they're going to bring in another vocalist. I doubt they will. But...
It's about playing the old songs though as well, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
And they can make new music, but at the end of the day, people, you can't play a set and not have some songs from. I was going to say it from the first few albums, but let's be honest, it's their entire discography. Like you can't not play 6 albums. 7 albums worth of material.
7. Yeah, 7. I completely almost forgot about the hunting party.
Yeah.
God.
That one always slips my mind as well. I don't know why.
I mean, I actually really like One More Light. I actually
Yeah.
really, really like that album. I just don't resonate with The Hunting Party at all, to be honest. That's the only album from them that I'm not a fan of. I love the rest of their stuff.
It came out, and I like the album, but it's something about it just doesn't feel. It hasn't. I don't want to say it hasn't held up, but it hasn't felt the same a few years on compared to what Living Things did, for example.
Yeah, it was almost as if like they were making aggressive music for the sake of being aggressive.
Yeah.
And in turn, that sacrificed the lyrics of it and the kind of the song structure. And like Living Things is a very underrated album.
Yeah.
I actually listened to it again like not too long ago. And I listened to Living Things front to back, and I just went, wow, this is a great album. Very underrated.
Because they actually released the entire the entire Living Things album, both instrumental and a cappella versions.
They did, yeah.
I think they did it for the Hunting Party too, actually.
They did it for the Hunting Party as well.
But yeah, I remember for one of my assignments at uni, I definitely dove into. I think it was Powerless.
Oh, such a good song.
I could host an entire podcast just on a cappella tracks, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you know? I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but somebody I used to know. Is it like Goat?
Yeah. Gotcha. Something like that.
You know who I'm talking about? That is a perfect example. it would just be me going, "Oh, have you heard this one, guys?" Playing a snippet, getting done for copyright, then going, "That sounds cool, that doesn't it?" What do you think of other people's work, guys? It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's pretty cool, isn't it? It's pretty cool.
You appreciating this with me? Oh my god. I was gonna say who, if you had to pick one artist, what is your favourite band?
Oh, Linkin Park.
Yeah,
hands down.
We've already kind of talked that over enough anyway. So
I think it's just because what I've always loved about Linkin Park, apart from making kick-ass music, it's the fact that you'd see a lot of bands and artists saying, I kind of want to try pop, I kind of want to try this, I want to try that, but they'd always just kind of dip their toes in the water.
Yeah.
Whereas
they
Linkin
just
Park
went, let's go for it.
Yeah, like Linkin Park has never been afraid to just go, right, I'm not dipping my toes, I'm diving in. So
absolutely.
like you look at 1,000 Suns, and like at the time I was like, oh, this is not Linkin Park. They've gone pop. They've done this electronic thing. And then I listened back to it and went, this is a phenomenal record. Like they knew exactly what they were doing and what they wanted to do.
But there's very, very few tracks
just
where I can
that
say.
mentality.
Literally. I'm not going to ask you your favourite albums by them because that literally, we will be here all day. But I do want to ask what your favourite, if you could pick, let's give top 5 albums, and you can have honourable mentions as well. Yeah, of all time.
Oh boy, okay. Oh right, jeez, okay. So
and I'll say excluding Linkin Park in this one, just because I wouldn't.
All right, excluding Linkin Park.
Because it'd be hard enough to pick between.
Yeah, of course. I'd say so. Honorable mentions will have Youngblood by 5 Seconds of Summer.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to mention something about them.
Yeah, and Igor from Tyler the Creator. So those are my 2 honorable mentions. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna throw in BTS's one of their Map of the Soul albums, like that trilogy. I'll throw that in as well as honorable mentions, because I want to put it in my top 5, but I'm still like a new fan. Yeah, so I want my top 5 to be
those ones
albums that resonated with me the most.
Yeah, you've had time to sit to them and go, yeah, that still holds up. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'd say Self-Titled from Blink, for sure.
Cool. Was that 2003?
That
was
album
it?
means so much to me. Yeah, 2003.
Yeah.
That album is, oh god, I can't even describe how they do it. You know, they made it sound like one song, and it's just a perfect album. I could never get tired of it. And then I'd say Flower Boy from Tyler the Creator.
Cool.
A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships from the 1975.
Yes. I remember you talking about that in was that 2019?
Yeah.
2018?
2018.
I remember
2018
talking
it
about
came
it
out. Brilliant album.
in 137 in that house.
Yeah, brilliant album. Such a good album. And then I'm also gonna say, oh god, definitely Thriller from Michael Jackson.
Yep.
For sure. Massive influence on my life. Also just because that album, my parents and my grandparents just used to play it around the house growing up.
Yeah.
So that album is mentally ingrained. And I'd also say definitely To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, for sure. That album is so important to me.
Fair enough. These are choices that I was both expecting and also not expecting.
Really?
Yeah, like...
Well, what of the ones were you expecting?
Well, obviously, I barred you from using anything from Linkin Park. But, I don't know, I guess I was kind of thinking
Yeah.
maybe one from Green Day.
Oh, Green Day. God. Yeah, let's throw Green Day in an honorable mention. Let's
Would you
throw
go
American Idiot.
Idiot? Yeah, American
Idiot, yeah. Because a lot of people with Green Day, they would grow up on Dookie, and say Dookie is the Green Day record, but for our generation, it was American Idiot.
Yeah. And then for the newer generation, it's probably Revolution Radio.
Revolution Radio. Oh, I have to throw this album in. I'm gonna add a sixth one. I'm gonna add a top six, and that's the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
That album meant so much to me growing up, and I
You know what?
remember.
A confession: I've never actually listened to that album.
Oh no, mate!
Yeah.
You need to. You need to.
Honestly, it was just I never got into that. I'm aware of a few of their songs, but I was never. It was never a thing for me. Like, what was?
Yeah, I completely
some were on the
understand.
radio at the time. Like, I think Teenagers was one.
Teenagers, yeah. Teenagers was the radio single.
But yeah, that's about it. To be honest, like
Well, if you have time, definitely dive into it. I remember
if I have
kind
time,
of growing. If you have time,
at some point in the rest of your life, play that album.
I remember just growing up with that record, and I hadn't listened to My Chemical Romance for years, and then obviously they announced their comeback last year, and I just went, okay, it's been a while. Let me put on Black Parade, which I have not listened to at that point for a good 5 years, maybe 6
Yeah.
years, and I put it on, and then just like clockwork, I remembered every single word. And if that's
Yeah,
happened, then
that-
you
if
know
that
that
happens,
that album,
yeah.
yeah, you know
Like-
that album is important to you.
Wow.
And I'm talking like deep cuts as well, like some of the deep cuts of the song, where I just remembered every single word.
Yeah, like the B-sides as well. That's
The B-sides, yeah. They had some good B-sides as well.
I mentioned Linkin Park again. I need to stop doing this. But I feel like if there's one podcast I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be with you.
Yeah.
When they released the 20th anniversary,
Yeah.
High Voltage came on, and I was like, "Oh my god, I know all the words to this."
What a bop.
And I haven't heard
Such a
this
good
song in a good, at least 6 years.
It's the same thing when I listened to Step Up Again. When I listened to
Yeah.
Step Up Again and it came on, I just went, oh, great. Like all the lyrics are coming back to me and just remembered every single word.
Oh, music.
Music, mate.
Music's a wonderful thing. Well, SHAF, It's been about an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
That has gone very quick.
That really has. It really has gone quick. That was great.
We could keep talking for a long time, but my problem that I'm thinking is that do other people want to listen that long?
I mean, we could always do some more podcasts in the future, and eventually we'll get the boys together.
Absolutely.
Not like a one-off thing. This has been great.
I've enjoyed it very much.
Yeah,
it's
and
been
it
good
feels
to
more
catch
casual
up
as well.
Yeah,
especially because like, aside from us working together and doing this thing, you know, first and foremost, you're one of my best mates in my life. You are literally one of my best friends. So it just feels good catching up again.
Thank you. But no, I think that's one of the main reasons why I started this, actually. I thought there's some people I haven't spoken to and seen because of the year that we've had. And this is a good chance to dive in on it.
Yeah.
Well, to say that we've been talking an hour and 20 minutes, I don't think either of us have sworn. I don't think either of us have said anything that can get us cancelled.
God.
And as far as professionalism goes, I think we've done pretty well.
We've done pretty well, especially for me swearing. I have no
I'll never
filter.
forget that time when we did the radio show. We haven't even mentioned Blast Radio.
Blast Radio,
we won't mention Blast Radio because saying it now, we'll get a Blast Radio reunion.
Yeah, we'll get a Blast Radio reunion, absolutely. We'll do a podcast when it's safe, and we'll have the 4 of us in the room again.
Yeah.
And 5. We'll bring Tom Walker as well, for sure. Come get him.
Of course. Tom Walker actually nearly worked with... he popped in with a CV the other day at my work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
So I actually did see him face to face just as we came out of lockdown. This lockdown, that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely going to happen. There's inevitably the next person that I'd like to get on is the one and only Batesy or Bait-Z or Bates.
Bait-Z.
How do you say his name? Who
Bates.
knows? I don't think he knows himself either. But yeah, I'm not going to drop too many names just in case I've left like a scar on the internet that people go, oh, I thought you were going to get them on, and it never happens. Because that would be I couldn't live with myself if that happened, SHAF. It'd be too embarrassing.
Yeah, I completely get that.
I just want to say thank you for being here.
No worries.
For spending
thank you for having
your time
me.
with me, and I want to thank everyone that's listening for don't need to thank me. Thank SHAF again because it's his time that he's giving up, and it's he's the one that you came here for. And I think if you don't know a lot more, you know a little bit more about SHAF, and that was my aim today.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm really honored that you had me as your first guest. And
no problem.
I'm just honored to do this. We should definitely do more soon.
Awesome. Right. I'm going to stop recording now, but I'm pretty sure we're still going to be on the phone to each other because we've got like Tourette's. There's things that need to just pop out now. Well, I have to cut that out.